Hello, and welcome to another episode of Stories from the Toy Shelf Unscripted. And today, I want to talk about something that was actually suggested to me by a very good friend of the Toy Shelf, Ordy, or as I'd like to call him, the fantastic Mr. Fox. So thanks, Ordy, for this. And no, I will not be talking about Springer, but this guy was actually made by a company, if you're not familiar with, Fans Project, who back in the day were pretty much one of the best third-party companies around in the early 2000s. They're not around anymore, but anyway, a few of their designers moved on to form another company called Action Toys. And Action Toys, a few years back, made a line of, I guess you could call them, masterpiece machine robos. And if you're not familiar with what machine robos are, machine robos were the other Japanese robot toy lines that transformed into vehicles that were brought over to the US and were made into the Gobots. So as a kid growing up, my dad got me a lot of machine robos. As like any kid back then, they were a lot cheaper than the Diaclones, so I had quite a lot of them. Funny thing, as a kid, it never occurred to me that machine robo. So they were all named with designations like MR01, MR02, MR03, and so on. And as a kid, I never made the connection that MR standard for machine robo. So I would call them, my toys, as Mr. 1, Mr. 2, Mr. 3. So anyway, that's beside the point. So Action Toys made an updated version of the Machine Robo line, and to varying degrees of success. Okay, it wasn't much of a success. This specific line of modern Machine Robos is pretty much dead. I'm pretty sure it's dead. They got around to making around 10 or so different toys to varying degrees of success, as you'll see. I didn't get all of them. I basically cherry-picked the ones that I wanted. So yeah, and I just want to talk about what I have in my toy shelf, the GoBots that I have in my toy shelf. So let's get started. First up is this guy, Machine Robo #1, better known in the US by his name Cycle, the leader of the evil renegades. But again, this toy line is based on the Machine Robo line in Japan, which to my knowledge had their own fiction that I'm not very familiar with. But with what little I know, I do believe that this guy wasn't the bad guy. He was a good guy, as you can tell. His face does not look like, Cycle. Cycle had a distinctively evil-looking face. So as a line, these guys, I use the term masterpiece loosely. One, because they're kind of small. They're pretty small, you can tell. They're about 4 to 5 inches. Their sizes vary from robot to robot, much to their detriment, as I'll show you later on. But anyway, their transformations aren't that complex. There are a few cool twists here and there. I mean, definitely a step up from the original engineering, which were really simple. But anyway, this guy in particular is kind of mid, I guess, compared to like all the others. And so we'll get to his motorcycle mode in a bit. Okay, so bike mode. So if you will recall, the original toy was very simplistic in the sense that you basically bent him over, put the wheels between the knees and the arms, and it was a parts former in the sense. You still have to take apart the knees, you still have to take apart the wheels, and if you're wondering, these handlebars were actually the heels. So yes, it's still a parts former, but extra points because in the original toy, the engine itself, I believe, was also a separate piece that you just plugged in, but in this version, this actually comes from inside the leg. So plus point for that, I guess. But other than that, it's a pretty straightforward update of the original toy. His axe is supposed to plug in somewhere in his butt, but I can't really be bothered with it. Something like that. So yeah, Bike Robo in his bike mode. Oops. Next up is Machine Robo 25, known in the States as Leader 1, the leader of the Guardians. And so this guy was probably the one I was most excited to get. Unfortunately, he's also one of the most finicky of the bunch. Case in point, so he comes with these pieces, which are meant to be fillers for his jet mode and rockets, right? And technically, they're supposed to come together to form some kind of weapon that he can wield in robot mode. And for the life of me, I haven't handled this guy in years. For the life of me, I can't figure out how to put it together. But anyway, in design, it's a cool concept, but execution is an F. So we'll put these things later on in jet mode. But anyway, so this is obviously Machine Robo 25, not Leader 1, as the face pretty much shows that this is not the same Guardian. Yes, he's finicky. He looks cool. I'm a fan of his. Well, I've always been a fan of the F-15 Eagle. I mean, given how much I love Seekers, so I was really excited to get this guy. One thing I don't like about him, though, and it's not really his fault, but it's more of the designers, is again Machine Robo. But I really bought them because I wanted to have Modern Gobots, and so like if you compare him to Cycle, he's kind of oversized. I don't know, maybe he was like that in the Japanese fiction, but as GoBots, I mean, if you see these guys as GoBots, this just wouldn't work, right? But again, not supposed to be GoBots, so not their fault. Anyway, let's get to jet mode. And here we have Jet Robo in his jet mode. So again, F-15 Eagle, big fan. They were nice enough. Again, so here, if you look underneath, they were nice enough to give us rockets. And these are fillers, which, in robot mode, you could basically put together to make his weapon, which for some reason does not work for me. He's got retractable landing gear on the front and in the back. And it's a pretty solid jet mode. To get to it is, again, a bit finicky, especially this part. So in concept and design, it's a good design. It's just, I don't know, they just didn't execute it properly. So good jet, a bit fiddly, a lot more fiddly in robot mode, but it's okay, right? I remember as a kid, I had the bigger version, the Super GoBot Leader one. I wish I still had that until now, but that was pretty much an oversized version of the GoBot toy or the original Machine Robo toy. So it was nowhere near this, updated. But anyway, yeah, Jet Robo, Eagle Robo. So just a quick update, I finally figured out Eagle Robo's weapons. So my mistake was I was using the front of the rockets. I thought these were the fronts of the guns, when in actuality, the front of the guns are these guys, the back of the missiles. And so with those put together, all you gotta do is put these guys on top. And you got it right when the handles go together. And with that, you just put it in the hand, and it's got these notches that you put on the top of the arms for more stability. And there you go, Eagle Robo and his weapon. And now I like this guy a whole lot better. Next up, Machine Robo 23. So in the States, I think this guy went by the name Blaster. And he actually had a more distinct color pattern. I believe he was green and yellow. But anyway, as a kid, I always found this guy cool because of he transforms into a tank, which we'll get to later on. And I thought he was cool that he had these missiles. And if you'll see the original Machine Robo, the missiles aren't this huge. So this looks pretty cool in the sense I love that they extended or enlarged the missiles. This is a lot better, a step up better than the Eagle Robo, Machine Robo 25. He's more solid, and he's got a pretty cool transformation. So we'll get to that as well. I won't be transforming these guys on screen, as you've already probably figured out. Anyway, I think he's got one of the more cooler engineering designs compared to the other guys. So yeah, Machine Robo 23. I believe he's called Missile Robo for obvious reasons. Okay, so I know I said I wouldn't do any transformations online, and I still won't, but I just really wanted to show you how this leg works because I really like the engineering of this guy. So yeah, if you see in the side, it looks like one solid piece, right? But in actuality, so what happens is, so I'm gonna just use my little tool here, and so you break it up this way. So there's a hinge over here, and you can line it up, right? And then this hinge on top goes down, and then you put the foot forward. So there you go. See, this is how the transformed version and the robot version. So it's pretty cool. I've never seen this type of engineering in a transformer before. If I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments below. But yeah, I just think it's a cool way to, and then this basically flips this way, and you know the rest. But anyway, yeah. So Missile Robo and his cool transformation leg engineering. And here we have Missile Robo. Okay, so again, the original toy was, if I'm not mistaken, it was a very simplistic transformation. This was a little bit more ambitious in the sense the arms are still the missile launchers, and this time around you've got 360 rotation around, which is cool. You can go up and down. So in concept and design, it's not that much of a departure from the original toy, but What's cool is so the legs have this design where you basically, it's hard to explain, and again, I'm not doing the transformation online. I'm not that good yet, but yeah, they basically stretch out. So it's a solid tank mode. It's a solid rocket mode, which I found really cool as a kid. But now as an adult, you're thinking, basically you launch these two rockets, and that's it. Useless, just another slow-moving tank, right? Until they get reloaded. But as a kid, this was a cool alt mode and one of my favorites. So Missile Robo. Next, we have Machine Robo number 2, or I believe in the GoBots cartoon, he was the Renegade Tank or Tankor. I think it was Tank. I never had this guy as a kid. I had actually no plans of getting him, but I kept hearing from reviews that he was a pretty good release. I saw him in Hong Kong. I figured, what the hell? So I got him. He's okay. I mean, yes, I believe the original Machine Robo was literally you just fold him in half, right? You bent this guy's, you can't actually do it with this guy, but you basically bent the robot in half to form the tank, which was a weird looking tank. You'll see it later on. This guy's a little bit better. There's a little bit more imagination added to the whole transformation aspect of it, and he's okay. Again, he's an enemy for Blaster to take on, right? 2 tanks, 1 Renegade, 1 Guardian. But yeah, other than that, there isn't much to say about this guy. He's got a very distinct triangular head, which I thought was pretty cool. I believe the original one had a darker blue, so I'm not really a fan of this lighter blue. But again, ranking them, I guess I would put him a notch above Cycle. Yeah. And this is Tank Robo, Machine Robo number 2. So basically, the original toy was literally folding over the top half to the bottom half. This is a little bit more involved. They did a few modifications to make it a little bit more satisfying in terms of transformation. So still, in essence and design, it's still folding it over, but still pretty cool. They added extra guns. I don't believe this thing was part of the original toy, if I'm not mistaken. It's removable, and you saw it in robot mode. This formed sort of like a cannon, like a Megatron type of weapon. Now I can't move it, but anyway, yeah. So top turret can, rotate. It's got some mini guns here. All 4 treads are on ball joints, so that's pretty cool. I have no idea what this tank is. It's more like a roving base of operations. So you've got a cockpit here with a huge, I'm assuming it fits more than just 1 person inside. So yeah, it's an odd design, honestly, but I guess for the future it works. So yeah, it's like a moving artillery base. Machine Robo number 2, Tank. And finally, my favorite of the bunch, surprisingly, was this guy, Machine Robo number 8, the Buggy Robot, or again in the GoBots, Buggy Man, which I swear I love that name. It's a play on the Boogeyman. Yeah, I think that's one thing that the GoBots had over the Transformers. Yes, I mean the Transformers names were pretty cool. The GoBots were a little bit more tongue-in-cheek, on the nose, but some were pretty cool, like this guy, Buggy Man, and then you had the Jeepers Creeper, and then the Submarine Dive. But anyway, this guy surprised me. This guy was one of the last ones ever released, and at this point, I had a lot of misses. They announced Turbo, which never saw the light of day. They also had a Fightor, Machine Robo number 3, which actually as a kid was my favorite, and I gladly pre-ordered him, but for some reason my pre-order never arrived, so I never got him. I believe that guy was in this fiction was the main robot, Fightor. Blue Jet, I think it was called Blue Jet. But anyway, so yeah, Buggy Man. As a kid, I had this guy, and I think my brother had him as well. So we both had Buggy Man, and he was a favorite, I guess. And so when I finally got this guy gave me the most nostalgic feels. And aside from that, compared to all the others that I have, this guy is the best quality-wise, right? I guess he's someone who Beachcomber can hang out with. I mean, they're both blue buggies. But yeah, this is my favorite of the bunch, and probably one of the best ones that they've made. So, Buggy Man. And here is the Buggy Man in buggy mode. So Machine Robo number 8. And yeah, it's a little bit more, old style, classic dune buggy, as opposed to Beachcomber's more, as opposed to Beachcomber's more, modern. They were both 80s designs. But anyway, this is more of a leisure type of buggy, I guess. I'm not really the buggy expert. But so his accessory, which was a gun, actually transforms into some sort of boombox that you can place on the back. So this is, for all intents and purposes, a party buggy. So the easiest to transform, basically more straightforward. So again, another reason why this guy is my favorite of the bunch. So, Buggy Man. And although this one isn't really part of the Action Robo line, I figured I'd include her as an honorable mention. Crasher. This is an actual Transformer. So, for those who don't know, eventually Hasbro bought Tonka, which owned the Gobots. So they basically got the rights to produce, the IP rights for the names. I don't think they own the rights to the designs of the toys. I think those don't belong to them. They can make a robot and call it Leader 1 or Cycle, but they can't exactly make a modern update of the original Machine Robo toys. So this is Crasher in a sense. You know, it's a repaint and with a retooled head of the Kingdom Mirage, I believe. And we've had quite a lot of Crashers, or back then she was released with different names. Almost always repaints or retools of Mirage. So on the third party front, we got a retool of, what was that, DX9's masterpiece version of Mirage called Kokomon. I got that, but it was okay, and I eventually sold it off. And then we got one for the movie line. It was called Fracture, based on the classic Mirage. And then I think this is the next one, which at this point, I think they really did get the rights to the name Crasher. So this is Crasher for all intents and purposes. So yeah. And finally, we have Crasher, the honorable mention. So again, obviously, it's a repaint and a retool of the Kingdom Mirage. So it's an F1 racer as opposed to Crasher's original form, which was, I believe, a Porsche. I wish they could give us a more unique mold for Crasher, because to be honest, if you ask me, Crasher's probably the best thing that came out of the Gobots, right? I mean, she was like a maniacal character, right? And she had that cool power of like causing earthquakes by just stomping on the ground. So yeah, it's a nice update. It's nice to have an updated version and to have Crasher officially part of the Transformers universe. So I hope they make use of her, right? In some future series, have her be one of the main Decepticons. But as of now, I'm quite happy with this. It's a nice deco. Black, red, white, what else could you ask for? So yeah, Crasher. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention was, so these machine robots from Action Toys each came with something like this. So it's a pretty cool, let me adjust. It's a display, it's a modular display stand. So they come apart. Each one, yikes, okay, came with one of these. So it's basically, for all intents and purposes, let's take this out. Display stand. So as simple as, putting your dude up here, and then you can have them all lined up. But what's cool about this is, again, so you can actually break this up. So you have it's been years, but you have the basic platform. You have these different joints, and you can basically create flight stands for them. So you can break it down to, just pull this out. I have not used this in a while, so I don't want to force it. But basically, you can break it up into pieces, and you can form different types of stands or whatnot. I think these even come apart. It's cool, right? You can build different things. So from a display stand, you can actually make a sort of flight stand. Yeah, I'm not very good at doing this on the fly and under pressure, but you get the point, right? I mean, so yeah, just thought it's worth mentioning. And that should do it. These are pretty much all the Gobots that I have in my collection. It was a cool line. Unfortunately, as I said earlier, Action Toys, I guess they didn't sell well, so we were supposed to get a Turbo. We never got him. I missed out on Fightor. I think there was the train robot. There was the shuttle Spacey, but he was never a favorite of mine, so I skipped him. There was the drill bot, SR-71 Blackbird. I forgot Snoop, I think the Gobot name was Snoop. So there were a lot more, right? But I didn't really feel the need to get most of them. I was pretty happy with these guys. I was hoping we would at the very least get the main 3 Renegades, the main 3 Guardians, but well, you get what you get, right? And so yeah, I believe Action Toys tried to redo the line. They released another cycle, but an upsized version. In fact, they gave him an alternate head, if I'm not mistaken, that looked exactly like Cycle. But that probably didn't sell well, or I don't know if the company went under, but that's all she wrote for Action Toys, at least for this line. So there you have it, GoBots. Until the next episode, bye.